a Leinster point of view, they've lost the last two. You've thrown an Ireland World Cup quarter-final. You've thrown an Ireland at Twickenham,
I love how you
etc.,
teed me
etc.
up for
Well,
this.
because I know where you'll go with it. There's a little bit of a growing narrative around nailing big games at the moment for a lot of these players in both green and blue.
The question will always get asked until they change the narrative.
I think Leinster look at the Toulouse shirt and go, I hear the number of trophies, but we don't fear Toulouse.
£1 million this weekend, Toulouse or Leinster. Who are you going to play for?
Playing for Toulouse, you're in a Ferrari. I'd love to run in that red and black.
Does it feel like this is a bit of a make or break for this season?
Yeah, probably behind the scenes there's a bit of pressure, but for the boys playing, we just want to put our best foot out there.
Hello Dream Team, welcome along to this week's episode of The Good, The Bad and The Rugby in partnership with our very good friends at Continental Tires. Hope you're well. It's the big one this weekend because it is the Investec Champions Cup Final between Toulouse and Leinster at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Call them what you want. The Giants, the Titans, the dynasty clubs, provinces, teams of European rugby. The unstoppable force meets the immovable object, and it does not really get any bigger than this. A score to settle for both of them, and therefore we have brought in our own big guns. The big gun is displaying his big guns.
But you know why I'm wearing a top from Baby Gap that's been boil washed?
Do you want to know?
Because I borrowed yours. Because
why?
My very fashionable top was strobing, so I'm wearing Alex Payne's under 16s.
You are so excited about getting the pipes out there, aren't you? Look, a couple of press-ups before we press record.
Wearing your clothes makes me feel huge.
I would be very, very careful about calling those pipes.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not even pipes.
No.
Test tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're a bit bigger than Mr. Spaghetti over there, but
oh no, I've been working out recently actually. Just a lean, mean fighting machine.
Bit more Bikram yoga, yeah.
Bit more, yes, sort of calisthenics. I think is my latest game. Tins and Will are here. Later on, we're going to be joined by Jonny May, who's got the small matter of the Challenge Cup Final on Friday when Gloucester face the Sharks. His last game for the Cherry and Whites. Obviously, a try in the final Premiership game at Kingsholm last weekend.
I want to talk to you about the fact he must be gutted. He should have had two.
He should have had two.
I mean, it's very, very cruel.
We'll come back to that a little bit later on. So, Tins and Will are here.
He is actually sporting a Will haircut as well.
What's a Will haircut?
Well, he's got a mohawk, hasn't he?
Oh, Jonny.
Yeah.
Yeah. In homage to this week's show, no doubt. Before we get into all things rugby, well done, City.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that roller coaster?
I did. I thought 4 or 5 weeks to go, I thought Arsenal would do it. I did not see. I mean, Villa did us at their place, battered us 3-4 months ago, and Watch just wasn't expecting Arsenal to slip up. I'm a big fan of Odegaard and their back four. I know this is a rugby pod, but they can properly play. They didn't look like choking. They didn't choke. They got beat by a very, very good Villa team, as we did, and what everyone suspected might happen did happen. City go 9 wins on about to get 27 points out of 27 and just got a sniff. I think the interesting one, if you talk about mindset, and we'll come out to mindset earlier, and Rodri's come out with it and said it yesterday, is Arsenal went to our place when they'd gone 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, battering everyone, came to our place and parked the bus and were happy with the draw. And the City lads went, you know, this is the invite we need. They came in not to play, right? We set sail. I just think they missed an opportunity because City are not as good as we were last year. I think Arsenal could have gone to our place and played rugby, and they were scared of losing. And by scared of losing, they set themselves up not to lose, and in the process missed an opportunity to bury us.
Yeah, and really smash that confidence and everything.
Yeah. Remind me, who backs Man City? Who are the financial backers?
Etihad, so therefore the state of Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
Therefore one of the Emirates.
Which leads into a quick, not a deep dive into last week's show. We had a lot of feedback. What was interesting about it is that
abuse. Thank you.
But
really appreciate that.
You know, you're going to deal with a topic like that. You're going to divide opinion.
You've got to throw it out there first and foremost. Is that because we'll come on to the poll, but yeah, the majority that makes loud noise in your inbox is the nasty ones.
A lot of people, understandably, felt that we didn't do necessarily the human rights issue justice. I think we said at the time we're probably not well enough equipped to be able to get into the deep dive on that. Everybody predominantly those who left comments, certainly on YouTube, were very anti the concept and possibly anti the way we dealt with it. When you then put the poll up online, I think it was 60+% said, yep, let's take the money. So privately and publicly, it's a little bit like being a Tory voter. No one ever admits to it. But when you go to the ballot box and no one's watching, you stick your X in the box.
But also what we didn't really float is it doesn't have to be Liv. It was because Fozzie was on and he's at Liv Golf, we put it in a Liv set. It might not be Liv. It could be, a worldwide consortium. It could be anything. It was just happens to be because we obviously Fozzie's been involved from the start, so it was the concept.
Yes,
and it was the easiest way of doing the concept.
And it was framed around the fact that obviously the Usyk Fury fight was taking place in Saudi Arabia. Apologies if we didn't get it exactly right. I think we were just trying to start the conversation. I think there is a lot more that's going to come off the back of that. Do you want to enter the game, or are you happy to let others deal with it?
First of all, do you feel it could happen? Do you feel it has a place if you set an elite competition above all the leagues that all your best players go
look,
to?
and I think I mentioned it last time I was on. I think 15 years ago, I went out to the Abu Dhabi Tourist Authority, ADTA, who under that moniker control a lot of the investments that go on in that country, and they were happy to throw, I can't remember what the number was, about $4 or $5 million at it at that stage to help us set up Champions Cup winner versus Super Rugby winner. We found a date back end of January, 2 weeks before the first Six Nations game, to fit in with their pre-season and mid-range of ours. We went to a load of the clubs and got sign-on from a lot of them individually. But then once it got to a collective agreement, the infighting and the spread of the money and who should go and when it should be, it totally broke down. So I've sort of explored it in that part of the world before. I'm trying to work out how I frame or answer it properly, and I go, if I were a PGA golfer,
yep,
and Saudi offer me not John Rahm money, I'm a 9 handicap golfer at sort of middle. I offered $10-15 million to go to play, and it changes my family, it changes my life. Would I take that money? Yes. So therefore, I don't find myself in a position to take a stance which therefore stones Saudi. I'd like to understand a little bit more about the country. I've never been there, and I suspect a lot of the people who immediately hate any sort of perspective there haven't been there. I have spoken to people who have been there. I've spoken to women who have been there 15, 20 years ago and have since been back to the country, and they would say, and they work in sport, they would say huge amount of progress has been made. You might say, well, they're pulling back, the curtain is hiding stuff when big sporting events go on and they're putting on a show, and that's not what reality is. But I'm speaking from the people who I know have been. I know Formula E go there, and a friend of mine who runs Formula E has really strong morals and a strong moral compass, and wants to be involved in diversity and inclusion. And Saudi now has Formula E, and I speak to him about it. So, I mean, it's a straw poll of two that I'm giving you who have been and spent time there. And they go, the progress that is being made is extraordinary from where it was. Don't judge them with a Western lens, because that's not the starting point that they're beginning from. And are they improving? Is there progress? Yes. In our eyes, has it historically been what we would do? No, but it's not us. And are we offering support and being part of the conversation by them buying into our sporting events? I think there is a level of noise you can then make that can impart on MBS and the ruling governing parties and royal family within Saudi to potentially make change. So I'm not trying to cover all bases here, but I'd always rather be in the conversation, exploring nuance, understanding grey areas, as opposed to, no, it's a disgrace, or yes, just take the money. I'm prepared to enter into debates with it, but from where I stand, my starting point is I would take money from them if it was offered. Therefore, I find it pretty difficult to then sit here and go, it's a totally wrong thing to be doing.
No, I agree completely. I think how did Dubai ever progress to where Dubai is without it going through a massive amount of change? And if you're not prepared to engage, you won't get change, will you? And I think you made a good point earlier off camera with their actual age range.
That was Will's. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so again, without killing with data and stats, it was only a couple of hours ago I heard the stat, is that I think that 60 to 65% of the population are 35 or 30 and under. And
in Saudi Arabia,
and they want to create a country that is progressive enough that keeps 60 to 65% of the population who are 30 and 35 and under in the country. And how do they do that? They don't do it by being a totalitarian regime, authoritarian dictatorship that totally takes over all human rights and becomes an Orwellian society that people may view it as already. I think it has to make changes, and it is making changes. I go back to the point that I haven't been, so a little bit of what I'm hearing is hearsay, but I suspect a lot of the people who are throwing stones and saying it's a disgrace have also never been to Saudi Arabia. And I'm more prepared to listen to those who've travelled and been around the country and experienced it than those that haven't.
Very interesting. You also made the point, it's not binary. There is nuance, there's education, there's all sorts of elements that go into the conversation. I think we didn't try on last week's show to complete the conversation. We tried to start it. Some will love it, some will inevitably hate it. But it is a conversation I think that is going to grow louder and louder over the coming weeks and months. Thank you for that. From Man City winning the league to who is going to win the Premiership. We had a fantastic final round. Should we start with just the makeup of the semi-finals first of all? Do you want to talk about the overall league season that we had before that? Where do you want to begin with it?
You know, we've had a season that's really hard. You look at last week and the fact that Gloucester get pumped by 90 and you say, well, what does the league look like with no jeopardy at the tail end of it, and people can put out rest teams for a specific one-off match with this week's Challenge Cup final. But at the same time, you look at the top end, when have we ever gone into a season where on the last weekend, all games kicking off at the same time, and you generally have not got a clue who might end up where and what you get. Normally, you've got two probably already got their home quarter-final, home semi-final or whatever, whereas this week it wasn't, and it was all change. It was jumping around, and poor Bristol, looking like they might be in with a shout, and then unfortunately probably lost a couple of players along the way that could affect England going further. But so I think we've ended up with a good contrast in the four as well in terms of who's playing rugby, who's high entertainment, and then a couple that with Sale, dogged win. I think you call it over Saracens, and whereas you've got the two teams that have really sort of played some unbelievable stuff in Northampton and Bath on the other end. And it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. I read a really interesting. I think it was Charlie Morgan in your paper, The Telegraph, who wrote a really.
Just to clarify, when you say it's my paper,
who is going to own The Telegraph?
Whether again, Middle East.
There you go. Should we get into that, or no? We'll come back to that.
But they don't quite pay me the same amount that they pay the live golfers.
Not yet. I think he wrote a really good article. I think he was saying who have been the really good teams, the sort of the standout teams this season, and the answer probably is that everyone's had flashes, but no one has absolutely owned the league this season.
Bonus points have been the decider. I mean, the reality is Northampton played 18, won 12 games. Sale, who finished third, also won 12 games. Most of them have won 11. And it's Bath picked up 16 bonus points, I believe, which propelled them up into second place. Saracens, I think, originally, without going back to the World Cup, were a little bit miffed that why did we start? There was an opportunity with Premiership Rugby Cup should have been the games that all took place during the World Cup. And then post-World Cup, everyone should have started with a full stable of their top horses. Now, I know they won one of their first two whilst the World Cup was on, but they had a pretty convincing loss, Saracens, early on, and it just put them a little bit on the back foot. So I think the way it's finished up, I think it's a fair reflection of the way the league's gone. In terms of who wins, Well, you've just seen the fact played 18 and 2 have won 12 and 2 have won 11, and it's as tight as a gnat's joff, and it's all about bonus points. I think there is an argument right now to say anyone who categorically says they know who the winner is telling absolute fibs. I think all 4 of those can beat each other. I was desperately sorry for Bristol to do everything they did against a Quins team. I think we are now realising one of the difficulties. You can take on Toulouse in one-off games, but if you want to fight on 2 fronts at the moment, certain clubs just haven't got the capabilities to go toe-to-toe with the best in Europe and then go back into the domestic league and still fight. I think they were running on fumes by the end, and Bristol scored 20 points
the way they play
in the last 10 minutes. I don't think Bristol expected Sale to beat Saracens, and Bristol, of all the teams who've missed out on the top 4, they'll go, sort of could see Leicester, Visa's last game, even though he got sent off, full house at Welford Road against a youngish Exeter who've shown glimpses of being good, but on occasion have delved into conceding too many points at times. That was quietly predictable. So Bristol are probably on the back of the last weekend's fixtures, the ones who are most miffed. But I think the top 4 that you've ended up with, I think are the right top 4. I do.
Interesting that. I mean, it's interesting when we start the show talking about Man City. Obviously, did you say they won their last 9 on the bounce?
I think so. It might be 10. It's
ten.
definitely more than 8.
But I remember hearing that it was this is Man City time, and they just don't drop points, which is probably something you would have said about Saracens in seasons gone past. And Mark McCall came out with a really interesting quote at the end, which I thought was very honest, given there's still a lot to come. We were poor today and played unenthused, if we're honest, and that is a difficult thing to say with what was at stake. I don't want to sort of extrapolate the Man City analogy too much, but it's interesting that Pep is now saying, I'm closer to the exit than I am to staying with regards to City. There is so much change at Saracens, which is well documented. I just sort of wonder whether they are beginning to sort of already look at what's next rather than what's here or now. You don't often hear Sarri say we were unenthused.
Yeah, but I think when you have, I think Sarri's operate with a quite honest in terms of how they deliver their news. I think Rob Baxter's very similar. I'll always remember an interview with Rob Baxter where they lost, and he was like, "Well, that was bad today." And he was like, "Well, the worst thing was we didn't have the energy. It didn't look like we were enjoying what we were doing." And that's the sort of where they sit, where the environment comes first. And if the players aren't looking like they're enjoying something's gone wrong during the week. There's something, and I think it's just an honest appraisal that we've seen it when Exeter, when Sarries, where even Sale to an extent, when they're firing, everyone's around everyone all the time, and that you can see the love of playing for each other, and sometimes it does go missing, and you've got to address that. And I think that's more what he was getting at than anything else.
And you can't underestimate desperation in rugby. Saracens sort of didn't need to win the game. Sale did need to win the game, and they beat them up. I mean, they physically beat them up. I think where Sarri's worry is in terms of going on to win this thing, I don't think their backline's right at the moment.
Because?
I see really talent. I don't see it as a unit. I don't see it quite as something that flows. If you talk about sort of Northampton, you go to Bath, you go, it's Russell, Redpath, and Lawrence and Ajoma can come off the bench, and you got Muir and Gallagher, and the sort of team rolls off the tongue. You drop into Northampton, and you know it's going to be Mitchell and Smith, and they'll definitely have Dingwall at 12. They could play Freeman and Hutchinson at 13. It's just you're getting excited about it. Bundy, not Bundy. What's the fullback called? James Ram. And George Hendy and Ram and Slytome, and you're going, what? And I go, Sarries, and I go, okay, who's playing? Tompkins, will he be in the middle with Sinty? I don't think Sinty's quite a centre yet. I think he's more of a wing. I think Parton's moved there from Irish and has done well. I think Lewington makes mistakes but scores a bucket full of tries. And I think you put them under pressure and force them to chase the game, and you compete with them and match them physically up front, they are more vulnerable than they've ever been. Do I think they've got a game in them that can go to Northampton and win on a one-off cup occasion? Remember the years when they didn't have a home game for 2 years because they were a bit rebuilding Stonex, and they played in something like 11 different places, and they won in all 11. The one team who don't give a monkeys about where this game is
the advantage of being nomads.
Yeah. Do you want an interesting stat for the Norses? I don't think any team who finished third in the regular season has ever gone on to lift the trophy. And I think a couple have won it from fourth. I think Leicester won it. And Wasps won it from fourth as well, I think. But no one has ever finished third. So another one for Sarries to go and correct. A word on Sale, because a bit like keep going back to Man City, but they have hit this sort of rich vein of form at the point of the season. They absolutely had to. Desperation, you're absolutely right. Tell me what you see when you look at Sale, because they sort of they've done everything they needed to get in, but it's in some ways they've stolen round the back to get there.
Sanderson himself was a misfit as a player, never quite got into the England team. And I think Wasps talked about themselves, didn't they, when they won in 04 and 07, were a bunch of players who couldn't find clubs elsewhere, and they played on that. I think Sanderson was always feeling like, I'm the northern kid, they're always going to pick Delalio, Hill back. I know he was youngish at the back end of that, but he was in amongst it and was always felt like he was not given perhaps the respect he was, and that comes out in the teams he plays. He's got a bucket full of South Africans who probably haven't got the number of caps they feel like they could have had. If you think about the Dupree brothers, who would give their arm and a leg to play for South Africa, Visa in the second row. They brought Andrews over on line to fix that, and then they got some lads like Dugdale, who I think is a wonderful player. At 7, absolute mongrel of a player. Rod, who's trying to...
He was in my team in the North.
Yeah.
He was, you're absolutely right.
Dugdale is outstanding. You've got Rod, who's fighting to get into... Baxter's getting all the headlines, and he's going, whoa, I'm the wonder kid. And he went around smashing Farrell. I mean, nearly put his shoulder out with the first shot he got on Farrell at the weekend, and he's brilliant at the breakdown. I don't get why they're getting rid of Sam James. There'll obviously be a reason. I don't know if it's financial or whatever. But, Manu was obviously going to buy on. And you're thinking, well, who are they going to bring in? And Sam has been Sam is like Josh Baxendale.
Oh, yeah.
Josh should have had 15, 20 caps for England. Thank goodness Clive didn't pick him. We one of us would have missed out. It's probably me. And James is another of those that you sort of feel like, how's he not got 10, 12 caps? Why has no one taken a chance on him? Great left peg.
Do you think if he
plays across the back
club, he would?
Well, it goes back to the Sanderson thing. So he's picking these. Carpenter at the back's rugged. I like that he was actually on the bench, the little blonde-haired fella. Roebuck's still fighting to get into England. There's a lot of lads who were saying, they're not quite Donkey from Shrek saying, pick me. But they're all in amongst it. And they are Flaherty's in that. They're a horrible team to play against. And if they get their blitz right in the first 10, 15 minutes against, are they playing Bath?
Yeah, they're at Bath.
Against Bath or Northampton, because the two teams who are going to try and out-muscle you are Sarries and Sale, you think, and the two teams who are going to, Saracens and Sale, two teams who might play more.
It might break you down a bit more.
I think Sale could put the absolute heebie-jeebies up Bath in the first 10, 15, and then from there they never get their game going. There is genuine an argument to say right now. I know you'll tell me the stat that the home team always wins the semi-final.
Yeah, not always, but more often than not. Yeah.
But you want Jeopardy. You want Jeopardy. You want Jeopardy in semi-finals. Then you put Sale and Sarries third and fourth. Yeah. I think if it's the other way around, and Sale and Sarries are at home.
Repeat of last year.
Yeah. So cracking game.
What about Bath? Because 2 years ago I think they were bottom of the log. They were, weren't they? Now they're home semi-final.
Did they lose 10 on the bounce last year?
Something like that. Razzle dazzle as well. I mean, they are a club reborn. How much credit goes to Johan van Graan?
Well, I think some goes to I think some goes to having the. I think what Finn does off the field as well, and
who's the backs coach? Blackett.
Yeah,
I think he's made a massive difference.
Yeah.
The balance. Van Graan's
Yeah.
South African set piece, and Blackett's come in and just gone, okay. I know you've got Russell. Blackett's someone who Vesti's getting all the chat.
Yeah.
Blackett's another English backs coach. You just go.
And do you see in Blackett, I mean, we've had him on the show before actually, he's someone who is comfortable enough to say to Finn, how do you want to do it and let's build it. You know, you get those coaches that facilitate the players and those that tell the players what to do. I just wonder whether Blackett is the latter. Sorry, the former.
But you also have to play what's right for the team that you've got around you. For years, they tried to play an expansive game without necessarily the forward pack that they needed or the key cogs in the right place. Whereas at the moment, when Finn's come in, I do agree, Lee Black is quality, and we've seen it throughout. What he did with Wasps and elsewhere. I think they found this balance of the strike play they scored off that line out on the weekend was. I mean, I watched it back 3 times, and everything was just on the money, bang on, and. Even if the defenders had made a different choice somewhere, there was someone going through a hole, so they had to make decisions, and they just pulled them apart. And Will Muir's got the strangest running technique I've ever seen in my life.
Very effective.
It's so long-legged. It's weird, but very effective. Yeah,
Ed Moses.
Yeah.
Martin Gillingworth was
Bob
chasing
Bean.
it, didn't he? That's it. No, Bob Bean was a long jumper.
He was a long jumper. I was watching the other day. Long stride.
Yeah.
Long stride.
What I want to talk about Bath is everyone talks about Russell. Quite rightly so. Why is Russell so good? His ability to go to the line and distribute. So most people can go to the line and at the last minute might be able to do a drop-off pass, but can't go to the line and at the last minute do drop-off pass, do mid-range pass and long pass. He can still get all 3 balls away. Now, most people go to the line. It's like, exactly. You've sent him down Muggs Alley. He's only got one out. Cover the out. He's done. He can go and still choose so late. It is an extraordinary talent. But away from this awesome backline, Redpath coming back is huge for him as well. He's
also made Ben Spencer brilliant. Ben Spencer's been so good for Bath since he's been there. Then he had a little dip year, and I think he feels revived from having.
He's got to go to New Zealand, but he probably won't do. Outstanding footballer, Spencer. But the pack, if you think about your titles, you can have Dutoy or Spencer. Abano at Lucid. You get in the second row, Yule's playing the best rugby of his life. Well, looks fit and lean and has become multifunctional, where before he's grown into it. Yep. And then the back row, you get Barbary, Underhill, Bayliss came in. Yeah. Of course, you've got Hill as well, Underhill and Hill. They've got a backbone to them. I'm not saying they didn't have a backbone, but now the power of the pack can go toe-to-toe before you then release Russell, as opposed to asking Russell under pressure to produce rabbits out of hats the whole time. He can sit and Russell can have a quiet 10, 15 minutes with the Bath team as it is because of that pack. The Bath pack of 2 or 3 years ago, you'd need Russell on the ball every 15 seconds, and then it just becomes a little predictable.
I feel as well, it's a way that everyone sort of stepped up in that Bath team. Like Cochran and Singer not disappeared, but went through it. I know he was injured and went through, but
I think he said he lost his confidence.
Yeah, now he's bouncing back. You've got everyone who, if someone's a bit off, someone else picks up the slack, and you need that when you're really looking for something. But again, as you say, jeopardy is in these games because you've got not a contrast. Well, you have got contrasting styles really in terms of how they can play it, and you sort of hope that 1 and 2 sort of win it for the purists of the game.
Bath Northampton final would be fresh, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's not. This isn't the question who's going to win it, but if you've got Bath against Sale and Northampton against Sarries, which club would you most like to be in for the next 2 weeks? Where would you like to be?
On the back of that Champions Cup semi-final and then a rest, I'd probably say I'd go and play at Northampton.
Okay.
Would be my option. I think the home, a sort of week off that they took down at Bath, another week off this week, the confidence of going to Croke Park, going 10-15 down and finding themselves within a break up the left-hand side that almost won it against a full Ireland team. And the emotion in and around Courtney Laws is sort of last couple of games potentially for the club if they make both. If I was to stick a shirt on, I'd be a cobbler.
And with that in mind, a word on Phil Dowson, because we talk about Bath who've come a very long way in a short space of time. He's exactly the same. I mean, he has not worked miracles necessarily, but the trajectory is exactly what you would want.
Yeah, and I think it comes to. I always sort of compare it to when you get that burst of quality youth that come in that he seems to have had, and the energy that they can give an old knacker, and I always hate hopping back, but when you can find a group of gnarled professionals, but then you can bring in a group of young, talented footballers who want to play and can actually make you fucking hell, I want to coach these guys or whatever. I think it sort of energy lifts you, not maybe even inspires you. I think he's sort of ridden that wave of having these exciting players. I think Mitchell is just. I think 9 at the moment is possibly the most important player on the field with how the defences work, and if you can get someone
in the game in general.
In the game in general, if you can get people who can snipe and spoil that flying off the line by making them stop and go, oh shit, and then you've got runners all around.
And the best 2 9s have ended up at 1 and 2 in the league.
Yeah. So, you know, and you look at what Dupont...
Finn Smith's good, though.
You look at what Dupont does.
I know it's about 9. Finn Smith's good, man. What a baller he is.
Yeah.
His game management for, I don't know, is he 21, 22?
Yeah. If
He's
that,
decent. Dingwall's ability to control a gain line when he's only... I don't think Dingwall might be 90, 92 kegs. He's not a unit, but around the back of the tail of a line out, he can find an elbow to a wrist as opposed to... He doesn't find shoulders.
I love him to up his chat though when he's got the microphone on him. I was like, there was.
Here we go.
Yeah, give a bit more.
Here we go. Right, did you see him? Listen to McElroy at Quail Hollow? Obviously not in the PGA the week before.
I heard.
Utterly brilliant. They walk down the fairway and NBC go. It's player time, microphone time. So they stick an AirPod in his ear, and he walks down the fairway and chats to the comms. And it was really interesting because it was in comms. It was Nick Doherty, Laura Davies, and Rich Beam. And Rich Beam was pitcher's course side like Radar does, and they went to, and he said, oh, what do you hit down there? Do you hit 3 wood? No, actually I felt 3 wood was too much. I hit 5 wood, didn't quite, not my best shot, but I've left myself a perfect yardage. Walked up to the hole, I walked back, and he's chatting away, and it lasts about 2 or 3 minutes. It's utterly brilliant, and it goes back to the Sky Comms guys, and Laura and Nick said, "Oh, well, he can't be concentrating. This is, I get it. It's great insight, but I don't just get this." And Coulthard was joining. I was like, "What? This is unbelievable." And I think sometimes you're judging them with a different lens. It's like that's what we were like. Like I watched Quins dancing in the change room before, and I go, "What are they doing?" But if that's what gets them in game, Macros, I think, well, it'll be interesting to see what he does with his next shot. Macros stands over a 75-yard wedge, bang. Bounce club wedge, nips it, bang, 1 bounce, fizz, 2 inches, walks up, taps it in with the edge of his wedge, and Rich Beam's going, "Guys, you're killing me. That was the greatest interview ever. What are you lot moaning about?" It's like this is what makes Sky, and it's just brilliant, utterly brilliant.
I remember Carter. We did the Carter show a few years ago, and he said he was able to switch on and switch off during a game of rugby.
Yeah. Like the cricketers are the best. You can't concentrate in a bat. If you're open the batting 6 hours, Steve Smith will take his gloves off, walk away. Others will stay in the zone. What works for you? Yeah. And you can never. I always felt one size fits all. We've all got to warm up. Jono, we've all got to be dead serious. Yeah. Like you got Bull Shaw and this Muppet and Healy, just hiding things in changing room, doing gags and stuff like lads. Good. Just don't do that over there. So maybe never the train should meet, but do whatever you feel you need to do to prep for a test match, cricket, golf, rugby, whatever it might be, fine. Don't impose it on others. Yeah. Don't, by being a daft joker, impact others. But if you want to warm up, if Finn Russell wants to dance before his goal kick and a load of old Scottish people are going, he's not taking it seriously, do one. Yeah. He's totally taking it seriously. He's the most ferocious competitor there is, and he likes to dance and listen to dance music and kick goals. Fine, away you go. It might not be what you do, but by the way, that's not you. The great phrase is, don't treat people as if you'd like to be treated. Treat people as if they would like to be treated. Yeah. And in order for that to happen, you've got to find out. Anyway, we've gone on the Dingwall.
But that is what Carl Hogg always used to say to me, because I'd mess around. Whereas Hoggy was completely the other way, and that was the one thing he did say to me that sort of he was like, "Remember, not everyone can do that."
Yeah, so can't just turn it on like a tap. You could. So I need to go to zone 4 days before a game. Yeah, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. It's going to be serious. I'm going to die. I'm going to get killed. Don't talk to me. He's like,
that was surprised me. I'm playing in between him and Wilco, who literally don't speak a word. I'm like, guys, I am your friend. He's like, shut up, concentrating.
On that note, and again we digress. Have you seen the new 99 documentary on Amazon about the United treble of 99, or can you not watch that because of
No, I can't. Absolutely, I loved it.
So I'm only halfway through the first episode, but they're talking about the impact that Dwight York had, because he came into a setup where they'd just lost the double to Arsenal. Everyone was beginning to they'd had a terrible start to the season. They got clubbed in the Community Shield. And Dwight York comes in, and he's samba during training. He's big smiles. And they're already being said he was the guy that lit the fuse on everyone going, oh, we can enjoy this as we go. It's amazing. Like,
And where he was really strong on it, because for the book I wrote, we interviewed Gary Neville.
okay.
And if you remember in that 99 year, they had Solskjaer, Sheringham, Cole, and York. They had 4 frontline strikers because they were going for the treble.
And Cole and Sheringham wouldn't speak.
And their ability to step down and be water boy for a week and step up Neville was saying was probably the absolute masterclass in Ferguson, but it needed the right sort of people who sometimes want to be in a band lead singer. And then actually for a couple of songs, I'm just going to go back and get bass guitar. I'm just going to set the rhythm. I'm going to let someone go up at the front and do it. And that management of skills was really interesting to listen to Neville. And I've changed it slightly but understanding selfless people in a very selfish game that football is perceived at, especially with strikers who are seen to be just score the goals, get it, shoot, don't give someone else a tap in, take the shot yourself. I think that those personality traits and those combinations and bringing someone in who just has a different view of the same mountain is a fabulous way of making the sum of the parts become greater than they actually are if you just added them up.
Very interesting. I love that sort of team science. And actually, wouldn't it be interesting to get some of the secrets of the Toulouse dynasty over the years? I'm not sure whether I've really sort of understood how they make it tick. I mean, money obviously talks, but they've got such an amazing culture there as well. What that does do is lead us on to the Champions Cup final. And you were talking about the Premiership, the teams that finished 1 and 2 having probably the 2 best 9s in the Premiership. I think have we got the 2 best 9s in world rugby right now? Gibson, Park and Dupont?
You could have a strong argument for that, yeah. Sure.
Dupont, Joe Good and Gibson Park. I think I nominated him as when we were on last time. I said he'd be Champions Cup man of the series. So good. Both of them so good. I think what they do both parts of the game. I think often you look at a player and go, wow, he's extraordinary. There are a couple of English scrum halves who are, wow, box office with the ball. But in this new world of asking the scrum half to defend on the edge, to defend last man, to come in at the outside centre channel and shut it down, to bolt out in behind the ruck and shut down, then a couple of the English scrum halves can't do that. Gibson Park and Dupont are exceptional both sides of the ball, which what makes them so cool. I mean, in that semi-final against Quins, Dupont, I remember watching him a game, I think he was Italy away, and you'll say it was Italy away, but he had a half-decent side, about 2 or 3 years ago. I promise you, he played the perfect game. And I went back and has he just played the perfect game? I went back and looked at every single touch he made, and it was a positive impact or a perfect pass every time he played the ball. And if you can reach those sorts of heights at that level, truly exceptional.
Has he gone up a gear in the last 12 months?
Yeah, I think he has. I think he actually, in another era, you'd probably say Gibson Park. Yes, Faf would be up there, but the way that Ireland play and the balance is, I think, just better than what. I'm going to get angry South African fans after me. This is not meant as a South Africa play how they play, which I don't think necessarily works in Faf's favour in some ways. If Faf was playing in a French team or in the Ireland team, I think he'd have more opportunities. But
I don't think he'll give the World Cup winners medals back.
No, he won't.
I think that's
the other side of the coin. Yeah, but I think what sets Dupont apart, his engine as well. He is never, ever late for a ruck. Sometimes where you've been tackled, the 9 gets hit, he gets on the floor, it just takes a bit of time. You're like thinking, you've seen it on TV and you think a guy needs to play that ball. Dupont is still there on that side. His engine, then you back his strength and what you talked about defensively and offloading and then the ability to make the right decision pretty much every single time. He's
watching them play, when England weren't playing great, you could watch our scrum halves, and from a restart, we'd catch it, one ruck, hit someone, box kick, and you watch our scrum halves, and they would walk because they knew that's what they had to do, right? Dupont and Gibson Park may know that in the game plan, in 3 phases time, they have to box kick. That doesn't mean they play for the box kick. They get to every ruck as though the game depended on it, and they have a look and they go, no, game plan, stay with it. No, game plan, stay with it. But they give themselves the opportunity to play every time, and then they might drop into second gear and go, no, it is boxing time. But when the opportunity opens up and someone's slow to fall around the corner, or they feel someone's out of position or offside on the short side, they've got there so quickly that even though it's supposed to be a box kick play, bang, gone. No, we go from wherever we go. And those two players are exceptional at that. Gibson Park's strength for me, on top of that, would be they play a system on a short side, Ireland and Leinster, where they can either hit first, second or third man, according to how the defensive is set up. His ability, because they're ruthless on the short side, Ireland, it's where they incinerate teams. His ability to pick the right player on a short side and turn a 4-on-3 into a 2-on-1 quickly, or a 5-on-5 into a 3-on-2 by hitting the right person at high speed they are joys to watch. When long after my requirements on pods or television are required, give me two players like Gibson Park and Dupont to grow old to and just watch every Saturday.
It's a good soundtrack for your Saturday afternoon. Yeah. That is one subplot. I mean, there are so many subplots in the head-to-heads that will happen in the Investec Champions Cup Final. But just in terms of the overall, they are the two most decorated teams in this tournament. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you another opportunity to open another can of worms. But a Leinster point of view, they've lost the last two. You've thrown an Ireland World Cup quarter-final. You've thrown an Ireland at Twickenham,
I love how you teed
etc.
me up for this.
Because I know where you'll go with it. But is there a little bit of a question around nailing the big games? I mean, I'm not. There is so much success there at the same time, but there's a little bit of a growing narrative around nailing big games at the moment for a lot of these players in both green and blue.
Yeah, well, the strength.
Or have I set you up to fail?
No, you have set me up to fail, but I don't mind it. I'll quite happily go there. But yeah, I would say yes, there is. I think some of the Grand Slam they won against England in Ireland the other year, where Freddie Stewart, they won it convincingly in the end, but without that,
it wasn't a parade.
Without that red card, could it be difficult? Different. Look, the question will always get asked until they change the narrative. So they've done the first part by beating La Rochelle at home convincingly. So now the question mark will be, are you worried about what might come? It's just the nature of the beast, it's what happens. But it's for them to answer. Yeah, I sat there for Gloucester in that period where we always lost finals, and I never got to win. I didn't really get to win one.
And does it become a thing?
Well, it depends on your mentality. But I wouldn't have said. I was quite happy to accept it as a thing, because there's no way you can do it. There's nothing you cannot give the same stock answer, but until you go and prove it or you go change it, nothing you can do about it. So the idea is, can you get it out of your head and just go and play your own game? Now, I think this Leinster team, which is a full Ireland team, should be able to do that, but they are playing against a world-class outfit as well. So I think, what is it, 5 versus 4? Is it going to be 6-4 or is it going to be 5-5?
I think Leinster can absolutely be spoken about as a great European Cup team. Mm-hmm. I think Ireland, even without a World Cup semi-final, this Ireland team can be talked about as a great team. With the run of victories they had, a 2-1 series win in New Zealand when 1-0 down, I think there's enough there already to say, we look back in 25 years' time and go, that Ireland team of 18 to 24
well, it's the best Ireland team that's ever been.
Was a great team.
Well, it's the best Ireland team ever.
So you are dispatching my slightly
No, I hear what you're saying, but I think Toulouse have their own little demons here, because Leinster keep knocking them out.
Yep.
In previous last
but
3 or 4
they have lifted the
seasons.
Tournament a couple of years ago.
True, I have, but Leinster.
Trophy.
But I think a lot. You get used to seeing a shirt and think, I can beat this shirt. Leinster see a La Rochelle shirt, and they were stymied by having to come over and have a 6-day transfer, and they all came in and they all stayed in Cork, didn't they, La Rochelle before, which gave a helping hand to Leinster. But if Leinster played La Rochelle this weekend now, had it been a final, I think most of us would back La Rochelle with 2 weeks off. Because La Rochelle go, I see that colour shirt, I win. It's just how it happens. I think even though I'm not backing out, I'm sticking with Toulouse. I went with them before the tournament started. I see cash out. No, I'm not
close
going to close. I'm not going to close. I'm going to go it and lose gloriously, probably. But I think Leinster look at the Toulouse shirt and go, "I hear you. I hear the number of trophies, but we don't fear. They do not fear Toulouse."
I enjoyed your answer to the question: which team would you most like to be in come the Premiership semi-finals? So your market value is actually. Let's not do that. Go on. You're up for £1 million this weekend. Toulouse or Leinster? Who are you going to play for?
I'll take Cost's place and play in the midfield for Toulouse.
Right,
I'll play alongside Aki. Have Ontomac at 10.
Right.
I might change. I'd probably put Kingsholm. I want Ramos in the team.
So you're picking the team as well as playing for the team?
Yeah, I'm 51 now. I can do what I want. Exactly. Very quickly before he answers his thing, it just reminded me what worries me for Leinster, which is why I'm not doing it, is I think goal-kicking frailties of Leinster. Whereas Ramos or Kingsholm, I think they'll end up playing Ramos in the final and find a place for Kingsholm on the wing, might drop Malia. I think Byrne has missed too many easy ones, and he might now go 5 from 5. But the reason I'm picking Toulouse is you don't want a frail goal kicker or someone who's missed a couple of easy ones, which he did in the semi and he has missed historically, going into a final, because we want it to be 54-50, but the vast majority of finals are decided by who can knock a touchline 2 over or a long range 3.
I'm just laughing because Greens is going to play for Toulouse. Are you going to play for Toulouse as well? I'm not sure what they're going to make of it in the south of France, that Tindall and Greenwood is in the back line for one of the...
love it.
What?
Well, they just get some sun cream.
Yeah. So go on, same question.
No.
Who would you love to play for this weekend of the two?
Both of them, but...
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
of course, both of them.
Both sides have it would be
Guess
amazing.
off the fence.
I'm not going to sit on the fence.
Leinster, Toulouse are definitely winning because I'm going to rip them apart.
I still
know
think
The two of you in Zimmer frames.
I still think that this Toulouse, as good as this Leinster team is, it probably would suit me better because it's methodical, it's smooth, it's the most reliable car you can drive. What was that? I don't know what that would be.
Skoda?
Skoda.
I was going to go Volvo.
Japanese?
I was going to go
Volvo,
Volvo.
yeah.
I was going to go Volvo or
Which
something.
is the one that's 7 years, 100,000 miles before you need a warranty.
Hyundai Pony.
Yeah.
That was my
That
first.
is
You're a
that
Hyundai.
is Leinster, but playing for Toulouse, you're in a Ferrari, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be, and this is sorry to any Leinster fans because I think you're a wonderful team, but that's just how it feels. That I'd love to run in that red and black. And
There's a lot of best players in the... Not a lot, it's an exaggeration. You've got the best scrum halves in the world playing. You've got the best 2 hookers in the world playing against each other. You probably buy at his best and Port. You've
couple
got
of the best
close
props.
to... You've had 2 World 15 loose heads. You've had 2 World 15 tight heads.
fullbacks are bad.
Second rows are pretty strong.
This is... It's an awesome... And by the way, the stadium will do it justice. I don't know if you've been.
Yeah,
But it is immense.
Yeah.
Immense stadium.
So what wins it? Because I don't want to talk about what might lose it in goal kicking. I mean, what and how and who and why?
I think Toulouse can deny Leinster the line-out plays, the touchline that they so desperately crave to do all their bounce-out starter plays. Probably Van der Fleer. They might pick Connors, but Van der Fleer shooting off the back and Henshaw coming short, and then they go at the back and hit low, dropping into those. So much of their game, Ireland and Leinster, starts with dominating the line out and being able to launch plays that put you on the back foot in first or second phase and then plan those tries. I think with Flamand going to town on Quins really in the second row in the semi-final, and they've got more Ruma who plays at 8 but if you want to throw it at the tail, I know you've got Baird and you've got Doris, you go to the tail, Ruma's waiting for you. I think Toulouse can deny them enough quality first phase possession after all that, to be able to win by 2. That's how tight it is.
Is it the spin of the wheel?
No, I think it's the je ne sais quoi that will, the fact that they can do it from anywhere, and before you know it, I think Leinster rely on the predictability side of rugby. Don't rely on it, but they are more about the predictability side of it. Field.
They love the control,
owning the field position, owning the control. whereas I think Toulouse can control them not having that by being unpredictable. And
it was last year.
but I'm not
top 14,
putting asterisks on it.
yeah,
But going from Toulouse to win by 2 to Toulouse to win by 1, if Keenan and Ringrose both come back,
right?
because I think Keenan specifically gives them something they haven't had. I don't know how long he's been
Keenan
out
was
for.
back the weekend against Ulster.
I think
Ryan
those
back as
two
well.
come back.
it could come down to
Ringrose didn't play against
simply
Ulster.
who wins the physicality.
Right.
Because that is a big Toulouse pack. And if they can get that dominance, then we know what quality they have. But then we know what Leinster can do defensively in terms of turning over, creating nightmares and breakdowns. Who wins that physicality and that breakdown battle could dictate it.
Cullen Nienaber against Muller. Do you anything in that? Nienaber's got the touch come big games.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's, again, exploring the nuance and the grey. There's absolutely, I would have no issue with anyone sit here saying, Greens, I'll take what you're talking about with Movaca and Dupont and Aki mowing anyone down that comes in the midfield. I'll counter that with Gibson Park and Henshaw owning gain lines and Van der Fleet. Both of them have got super strengths galore. But you've asked us who you think I'd like to play for. I'd choose Toulouse. You ask us who I think will win. I've backed Toulouse. I'm sticking with him.
Okay. Be a hell of a season, wouldn't it, to win the Rugby World Cup and the Investec Champions Cup in 7 months.
You're talking about Nina Bar?
Yeah, that is a golden touch. Shall we go from the Champions Cup Final? Good luck to both teams involved. We're going to be there, actually. Very much looking forward to attending the Investec Champions Cup Final, to the game that takes place the night before. And as we do so, we're going to bring in our very own Jonny May. Jonny, welcome along once again. Can we just start with the Travis Bickle? Why have you gone Mohawk of late?
It's just midlife crisis of rugby, I think.
Right.
I've had a longer hair spell this season.
We're sat here with someone who shares that midlife crisis with you on a regular basis.
It's nothing to do with midlife crisis. I think Jonny will agree, right? You've had the same haircut since you were 11.
8.
It
hasn't actually moved.
And you are fortunate enough that it would also grow back if we try. Why don't you just try something different? Variety and change is good, Alex. It's good.
That's why
if you say so. Well, you make it not look that.
Alex, that's why you don't have a job on Sky anymore or anything. 'Cause,
I think there are many other reasons why I don't have a job on Sky anymore. Have you had a lot of compliments on it? Your hair?
Yeah, reasonably positive.
Right.
Reasonably positive. I think it's all right, but
looks great.
I quite like it.
Good.
I maybe should have kept it down the back as well. I didn't, and now it will be difficult to grow that in without a bit of time away from the telly, because it would look like a bit of a stray dog clip a haircut if I start trying to bring that in. So it is what it is for now, but I quite like it.
Good. Well done. Was it emotional at the weekend? You got your try. We were appalled. Well, Tins in particular was appalled that Alex Hurl didn't give you a second with a lovely 30-metre farewell touchline run past the shed. But you're comfortable with that. You got the one and didn't need the other.
No, we actually attacked quite well at the weekend. Our first phase, we were accurate. We had some nice tries, to be fair. And yeah, like you said, I got one already. And Hurley is actually a really good boy. I was pleased for him to get on and get a try. He's actually going to Falcons as well, so it must have felt quite nice for him. He was never passing that one, so it was good on him just to pin his ears back.
The only reason I said it was because on your first one, I don't know which Falcons player it was, wouldn't let you have the ball, and you clearly had something in your head that you were going to do, and he absolutely scuppered it.
I just wanted to flop it into the shed. I did in the end, but I got it off him sure enough. So that was that.
Can we just, before we talk about the game that's coming up, can we just talk about the last 2 weeks? I think it's a 145-point swing from the 90-0 to putting 55 on Newcastle. I mean, highs and lows as you bid farewell to Cherry and Whites, but give us a sense of what the club has been like over the not just the last couple of weeks, but the last few months, actually.
I mean, yeah, it's clear and obvious we've underachieved and underperformed in the Premiership this season. We actually have played some good rugby in the Premiership, but margins are fine, and we haven't got the momentum or the wins that we would have wanted. But the nature of how the Premiership is now, with the structure and no relegation, and you've obviously got us and Newcastle there's not that we can't really compete for top 4. We couldn't even get up into 8th. We've obviously got a semi-final or a final in the back of our heads. It gives us sort of damned either way, really. If he puts out his first team away against Northampton in a game that we can't really achieve anything in, I'll be frankly honest, I think Saints, with our heads probably being on a semi-final, we probably get beaten 20, 30 points by Saints away, how good they are anyway, let alone you put out a younger team. It's a very, very tough day for them. No, 90-0 isn't acceptable, and we can be better, but Saints are very good. And there was really nothing in it for us to go after that game, and you can't fake and magic up energy and incentive. The boys sort of in the back of their heads, it's a difficult position for them to be in going into that game, knowing it's a bit of a nothing game. But it's more the nature of the structure of the table as much as anything. And there have been other results like that this season, not quite like that, but certainly where teams are away from home or resting or reshuffling and haven't quite had the result. But I wouldn't look too much into that result. Saints are very, very good. It was never a game we could get anything out of. And they are on fire off the back of being knocked out of Europe. They wanted their home semi. It was just a bit of a perfect storm.
And what about for you? Because obviously you've announced you're leaving Gloucester. You've had your last game at Kingsholm. Have you cleared out your locker and taken your post and that sort of thing? Has it been emotional? Have you had farewell party, cake to say goodbye? What sort of things have you been up to?
No, I think I've had my head around it's unlikely that I'm going to be staying for a while now. So I've had time to process it, and I can it's been positive because I've been able to really focus in on what's going to be my last few games and give it my best and enjoy my teammates. And to be honest, the reception I had at Kingsholm was overwhelming, really, how positive that was. And to run out there with Jackson and to lift him up in front of the shed and to have a win like that, it's fairy tale stuff, really. But I say that with a bit of a niggle in the back of my head because we've got a final Friday night. So I've got to refocus pretty quickly.
Have they? I know that they won't have put a stand in your name, but is there at least at the training ground a Jonny May stretching corner or
trap number 3? Is that
the Jonny May
renamed the Jonny
stretching
May
band
trap?
holder? Or
what will there be? I had my I had my sad lamp that's actually been broken because I get in quite early, and English weather being all dark and horrible, I get in at about just before 7, quarter to 7. I put my sad lamp on and I stretch next to it. But we had a week off a few weeks ago and some idiot's broken it. So it's just, luckily enough, it's light enough in the mornings now, but maybe that broken lamp will hang around and that'll be the last memory left of me, really.
Fitting homage.
a broken lamp.
I love lamp.
Yeah.
Just to ask the question, because I know you're working away backstage. Are you a gun for hire? Would you love to stay in the Prem? Are you tempted by Japan, US, France, GBR?
GBR has to be at the forefront of my mind in any decision I make. But who knows? It's funny. It's like selling a house a little bit. You get time wasters, and it's hot and cold, and it's like me and Sophie on there's no point really exploring any opportunity or option until it's concrete on the table. And I haven't actually got anything like that yet. Although there is, as time passes, more and more chat and more opportunity potentially showing up. Things go hot and cold. So I'm sure I'll be all right and something will come up. But it's quite a tough market at the moment, if I'm honest with you. It's difficult to get to France because of GIF. It's difficult to get, for instance, Benetton needed a winger, but they're under pressure to sign Italian qualified players. Premiership's pretty tight for money. So no, it is actually quite a tough market, but I'm hopeful and confident something will come up. And yeah, I'm sure I'll work something out. But no, it's been. I'm lucky that I'm in the position I'm in, but it makes you realise, bloody hell, it's tough out there for some lads as well.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if all else fails, you could be saving lives by this time next year, Jonny, in the fire brigade.
Can you imagine if your house is burning down, you're stuck on the top floor, and Jonny comes in through the window with an axe and a fire extinguisher? I'd be very pleased to see you.
I'm RAF fire service. So
you'd fly in through the bedroom window.
Well, no, it's if you're on a plane on fire, that's when I'll be there.
Right. Let's hope
just-
that is
just-
not a scenario I have to go through.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the weekend then? You've got the Sharks. It's not sort of all in on this one, but it's not far off, given what you've been saying about the league. Does it feel like this is a bit of a make or break for this season? Win it, and you've got 2 trophies, and actually there's something there, lose it, and the
Question-
summer. I mean, obviously
questions
you'll
will
be
be
packing up
asked.
and heading out, but there's going to be quite a few questions around Kingsholm.
Yeah, I guess if you put it like that, it is the Prem Cup's a great achievement. I'm very, very pleased for the club. Obviously, I didn't get to play in that because of the World Cup and the international tie thing that was going on. But for Luds, particularly the club captain, he's just unconditional in his work and heart, and how that is fully invested into Gloucester. So I just over the moon for him. There's a lot of great people at Gloucester who are working incredibly hard. So that was really nice to see them get that trophy. But you are right, the Premiership hasn't been good enough, and the Prem Cup on its own isn't enough for what we are. So we do need to find a performance and a result this weekend. But I don't feel the pressure of that. Maybe it is because I am leaving. Maybe other boys do feel that, but I don't feel like the boys are feeling like, God, this is the make or break of the season. The boys are pretty much very looking forward just to it's a reward, this opportunity we've got. We're going to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's unbelievable playing against nearly South Africa. We're just real pumped and wanting to enjoy the week, and that's exactly how it should be. So yeah, probably behind the scenes there's a bit of pressure, but for the boys playing, we just want to put our best foot out there, and we're going to have some good travelling support and really enjoy the day.
You mentioned the Sharks. They're the first South African team to reach the showpiece of what is traditionally a European competition. You mentioned the players that they've got. How do you beat them?
Yeah, we're going to have to be accurate of what we do. From experience playing against South African teams with England, you're going to need more than a kicking game and a set piece, because they're pretty unbeatable if you go straight at them with that. So no, we've got a plan for them. Can't give too much away, but it's heavily focused on what we can do, and imposing our game on them. But we're also aware of it's not unique playing rugby, but the fact that this is going to be as physical a game as a lot of boys have ever experienced. So we're trying to prepare for that. We need to match them physically and then execute our stuff if we're going to give ourselves a chance.
Can your old boy? Can they find everything they need and bring it together on one night?
Yeah, I think they can. I think one-off games have been shown that you can always produce that. Now, it's hard because they have been, even with Jonny here, they have been so up and down this year. But I think if they deliver everything, they've still got experience across that back line. Into you look at Harris and I assume Haystow's fit. You've got international 9 in Varney or whoever they pick at 9.
Santi Carreras.
They've got Carreras. So they have got the skill sets. Plus they've got 4-pack who can carry. They can be physical, but it's just got to all come together. I think yes, the 90 Nilla wasn't great, but it sort of led them up to going into a game that they should have won against Quins, which they did win comfortably. And as Jonny said, they did play quite well and attacked well. I know it's against Newcastle, which people say, but it's really given them a bit of confidence to run into this game. But they are going against a strong Sharks team. Hopefully, first 20 you can get out of the blocks and sort of set some. I would assume that against Benetton, Gloucester sort of played within themselves, because I assume they thought that Benetton were quite a high energy, quite loose attacking team, so they wanted to try and control that. Whereas it might be the other way around going into a game against the Sharks, but we'll have to wait and see. But Skibbs will be judged on it massively, I think, and if they win it, I think the pressure valve will be released massively. If they don't win it, there'll be a lot of questions asked about it.
Do you know what happened 23 years ago today?
Oh, I do, because someone sent it to me.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Don't know who we beat. 23. I think we beat Narbonne.
Yeah, Narbonne, I think it was.
A really
Did you know
sad
your hair was
incident
exactly the same that day as it is now?
David Wilson from nowhere snapped his ACL. Never played again.
Is that right?
Yeah,
What a
just
player
running
he
along.
was.
I think that was right. But yeah, we won a final we should never have won. So if Gloucester need any inspiration, Quins won 2 Challenge Cups in 01 and 04, and we should have been battered in both of them. I think for Gloucester, Mercer is key.
Yeah.
But Mercer plays well, Gloucester got half a chance, and he tends to always play well, so they've got half a chance. And then you've got to try and do a job. I thought Etzebeth was extraordinary against Clermont. I mean, he was doing everything, running up and down the right wing. He was winning high balls. He was playing scrum half. I don't know if you can man mark a second row. I'm sure the Gloucester boys have got a plan to
Putting Jonny May on
to
him.
double team. I mean, it's a statement. If you can
You'll
put
cut
their
him too, won't you, Johnny?
if you can put their talisman on his back, then you have
You'll
half a
take
chance.
Eben out. Just cut him in two.
How do you deal with that, Sabeth? Have you got a plan for him?
Oh, yeah. Whenever we played England, we targeted him. I remember we must have played them at Twickenham in, I'm going to make up the year now, 2018 or 2018, 2017. We were like, we want to get him off. He is their leader, isn't he? So we want to fly into him, whether that's been Marrow or Billy or the forwards talking about just going after him. You really do want to fly into him, because if we can knock him down, it sets a bit of a tone. But he's obviously used to that every week.
Yeah.
Every team's going to come after him. He's such an important and great player for them. Teams want to put a stop to him, because if they do that, they've got a chance of really rattling that team.
Yeah.
Job for Luds.
Good. Of course, if you do win, Gloucester steal into the Investec Champions Cup next year.
Leicester miss out on
Leicester
Champions
miss
Cup,
out,
don't they?
yeah.
So, I mean, wow. Out of 10 teams, 8 qualify, and
I know.
Leicester don't qualify. Nothing the shed would rather
Would love
Yeah.
enjoy.
There is your motivation in your team talk. It's a massive weekend as well, because what's happening on Sunday?
Jackson's birthday.
There you go, you
There
see.
you go.
So all your
Yeah.
Christmas is coming at once.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a present that you can give him there.
I hope it goes really well. I hope it's not too emotional. You've obviously still got rugby to come. You've got
Yeah.
GBR when you want it. But enjoy all that is, Johnny. And I hope you get a fantastic result, a fantastic send-off. And, enjoy the ride. Emotional.
Nice. That'd be really nice. That'd be great.
Good on you. We'll see you
Good
soon.
luck, Jonathan.
Take
Good
care.
luck, Jonathan. Thank you very much indeed. Best to Jackson. Happy birthday to
Yep.
the little one. We'll see you on the
You
other
guys
side.
take care. Have a good chat between you all lot. See
Well
you
done.
soon.
See you later.
Johnny May.
Bye-bye.
So there goes Jonny May. One last thing to do. I'm not sure how on earth we're going to fit it into the 5 remaining minutes on the show. Our Continental Tires question of the week, just a gentle loosener. With Toulouse on 5 European titles and Leinster on 4 going into this weekend's final, who is the best Champions Cup team in history? And I will give you a little bit of a caveat. You've got to won it more than once. And we've gone with Leicester of 2001-2002. Stade and Munster they beat. Toulouse of 2003 and 2005. They were also runners-up in 04, which is when Poitras had the brain fade and Howley stole in. Munster won it twice, 2006 and 2008. Leinster did 3 and 4, 09 against Leicester, the 11 comeback, and 2012 against Ulster. Toulon are the only team to do 3 in a row, 2013, 14, 15. Saracens did 3 and 4, 16, 17, 19. And La Rochelle went back-to-back in 22 and 23. You're making notes. Which of those teams, if there was a competition between all of them, there are only 7 in there, we could do quarterfinals actually, but 7, which of those teams would emerge victorious and why? What an amazing tournament that would be.
Toulon.
Full stop.
You stole my line. I was going to Toulon.
Well, that's the answer. That's the answer to the question then. That was the no, go on, put a bit of justification on it.
I was going to say, if I could look back through every team sheet and which team would I want to be in, that Toulon team.
People like Lobbe as well.
It was
that
the-
row. Everyone
I
remembers
mean, Lobby doesn't even get
Yeah,
into the sort of
yeah.
headline makers of that show.
It was the Harlem Globetrotters. It was
Juan Smith. Do you remember how good he was in that final at the Millennium against Sarries?
you had everything covered. If it turned into a brawl, Bacchus, get them. You had the class of Johnny, and then what Gitz gave Johnny, and then you've got Habana that slides in there. You've got Drew Mitchell that slides in there. You've got,
Sonny Bill, was he there or
Sonny
did he miss
Bill,
out?
He did the Challenge Cup for them
final.
before he'd gone back to New Zealand.
So I mean, it was the dream team. It was like that. Now, if you want to look at it from another angle, I think one of the best stories is probably La Rochelle, and you put,
Ehire West.
but you put what
Will
it did to
Skelton.
the city and how they connected, and how Rog pulled them all together, and the story behind it, and how it's completely the other end of it. It's not necessarily all worldy names, but it's great players playing together for each other. That would be my only other sell to it. But then Toulouse is just a giant that's always got good players. But that Toulon team was the Harlem Globetrotters.
Leicester 0102.
I think it's Toulouse, Leinster or Toulon.
Toulouse, Leinster, or Toulon.
You have to the number of stars. You're thinking about Pelouse's era, the 03-05, nearly did the treble 3 years on the spin. They're all outstanding teams, but I think it's one of those three. But I go with Toulon simply on the back of they've done something that no one else has done. They've done the three-peat when the competition was and still is becoming the competition. It grew the first 4 or 5 years. Cardiff made the final, got beat by Toulouse in extra time. Brive nearly went back to back. Ulster won in '99, and you just sort of feel it's growing. As I said, with Sadoni at fullback, it was growing as a tournament. The Munster story, never back against the men in red. The miracle comebacks, Rog and all those things, and then finally getting over the line. But by the time you get to 13, 14, 15, everyone's in it to win it.
Yeah.
Everyone's putting their gun teams out. Occasionally Castrol put a third 15 out away from home, but they're the exception rather than the rule. And they go back to back to back.
Who did they beat? They beat Clermont.
Clermont
they should never have got pot. But that was the ugly one.
Yeah.
They took Sarries apart.
Yeah.
And then they did Clermont at Twickenham, didn't they?
They did Clermont twice.
Yeah, they did Clermont twice. So they sort of won. They won their 3 finals in very different ways as well. That was a golden era, wasn't it?
Mm.
Do you think we'll see a team like that in this part of the world again, which is brought in from all corners? That was pre-GIF.
We'll see it every week when it's built on the Uber.
We end as we began, Michael, by bashing the hornet's nest. Where would that Toulon team rank globally? You're thinking Crusaders, Brumbies.
Talking Auckland mid-90s.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jonah.
Brumbies.
Ronnie Clark.
mate.
That Bulls team of the mid-2000s were pretty good.
Yeah,
with
07 when they won it, and they won the World Cup the same year. Crusaders under Razor. That Toulon team's right up there.
Yeah. That was our Continental Tires question of the week. We dealt with that far more clinically than I thought we would do, but I'm sure you'll all have your own views. Let the debate begin. That is it almost for this week's show. Just before we finish, we actually just wanted to very quickly pay tribute to the sad news that came out of Ireland this week following the death of the former Ireland and Lions winger Tony O'Reilly, Sir Tony O'Reilly. He was 88 years old. A post on the Irish Rugby Football Union posted, "A legend of the game has passed. Our deepest sympathies to his family and friends." Meanwhile, the Lions called him one of the greatest of all the players to have worn the famous red jersey, a titan on the sports field, a titan in the world of business as well, and very sad news for all those connected with Irish and Lions rugby. He certainly lived a life and a half, that is for sure.
Did he score 36 tries for the Lions?
He scored 37.
And CEO of Heinz.
Yeah.
And wow, that is a life well lived.
He was dual nationality, so he became a Knight of the Realm. He was Ireland's richest man at one point. He established the Kerrygold dairy brand, which became one of Ireland's leading global consumer brands. He later became the chairman and CEO of the food giant Heinz, as you mentioned, built an international media business, which at one stage owned more than 100 newspapers, including the Irish Independent and the Belfast Telegraph. He made his international debut for Ireland in 1955 and became the youngest player to be selected for the British and Irish Lions. My CV reads, he got 7% in a Latin exam and is now clearing up this crap podcast. That is a life well lived, isn't it?
The thing that endears me most to him is the fact that when he was apparently recalled back to Ireland, he was in Annabelle's.
Is that right?
The night before,
they don't make him like they used to.
His country, and he rocked out.
Turned up in a chauffeur-driven Mercedes.
That's my kind of guy.
That'll be in your tournament, won't it?
Yeah.
He retired at 26 to pursue business interests.
I mean, that's mad. And he scored 37 tries by then
for the Lions. Yeah,
there were 11-month tours there. They played 923 games. His strike rate actually wasn't very good. Don't do the detail. Don't stick with 37 kids.
Yeah. Sir Tony O'Reilly, one of the greats, and I'm sure will be sorely missed by all who knew him. One other bit from us. The world's largest sport and music festival is taking place this bank holiday weekend. It is, of course, the Bournemouth Sevens.
Dodge.
Yeah. We've got a black-eyed team taking part in the event itself. 200 rugby teams, 30,000 people, 12 music arenas. The 2024 headliners are Rudimental, Joel Corey and Wilkinson. And if you fancy stealing in with one of the last few tickets, they are on sale at bournemouth7s.com/tickets. Keep an eye out for the Black Eye, are they called the Black Eye Marauders?
No,
the Black Eye Martinis. We had a 30-second
you
team
fancy a
meeting.
game, Will, we can get you a game.
Do you want to play for the Black Eye Martinis?
Is it touch?
No, it's not. It's
You can play touch.
all
But
guns
everyone
blazing.
sticks around you.
Hey, with those pipes, you should be in the
He actually
elite
played,
team.
he was playing touch when he was playing 15.
Shut up. These things.
Are you flexing?
These things.
What are these?
They're bigger now than when he played.
Have you been to Bournemouth Sevens?
No.
It's one of my great regrets. I've not been down there to
Well,
support
you got to
Dodge.
steal in at bournemouth7s.com/tickets and grab it. I'm sure Dodge will sort you out if you want to go down. It's a
That
very,
is,
very, very good weekend.
Amazing event he's built there.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
The growth of that is
Mortgage,
phenomenal.
remortgage, he's all in. It's one of the great stories. That is well done, Dodge.
Yeah.
Much respect.
You've got a very
for
good
that.
pod as well, Eventful Lives. If you fancy checking that out. Good
Well
luck.
moisturised man as well.
Is that
Looks great.
Right.
And his dad looks like his brother. His dad is extraordinarily good looking.
Right.
It's a great looking team they've
Good.
got down there at the Bournemouth Sevens.
Dodge, you need to up sponsorship levels of GBR after all this promotion.
Yes, exactly.
Good. Enjoy if you're going. Check out the link if you fancy stealing in for what is a brilliant weekend.
And it's not just rugby.
There's netball,
Did you say all that?
CrossFit. Yeah.
To say the
Well, I
netball,
did
so
do
the
that.
girls.
We're-
Did you get that? I missed that.
No, I think it's both male and female sevens as
all right.
well.
Yeah,
So,
good.
yeah, good weekend. Thank you, William. Thank you for bringing your.
Are you paid by Bournemouth 7? You just went into a reel.
You need your
Yeah.
mic. Oh, okay. Thank you for bringing your guns. Nice to see you. Do you need a hand getting those out of the studio?
You really? Is this bagging
That
on you?
artillery. Do you want to get that? Do you want to get the old siege guns out?
Oh dear.
That's a little something that we didn't foresee offering our viewers, but I hope you've enjoyed it nevertheless. We have been the good, the bad, and the rugby. Good luck in the Investec Champions Cup Final to Leinster and Toulouse. What a game we hope it is. Very much looking forward to going to that. We've been the good, the bad, and the rugby with our friends at Continental Tires. Stats and facts provided by Oval Insights. We're a folding pocket production, and this episode was produced by Ant D'Angelo. Enjoy your weekends. See you soon. Bye for now.